Hi kids, I'm Pastor Joyce, and I'm here to share with you Jesus' journey to Jerusalem, taken from Luke 9:51-62. After the transfiguration of Jesus with the legendary Moses and Elijah, Jesus knew the time was near for him to complete his mission and to be taken up to heaven. He decided to head to Jerusalem through Samaria, and he sent messengers along the way to prepare for their big group stay in those villages. Now Samaria was an area lived by half-breed Israelites. They were leftover survivors from the northern Israelite kingdom when Assyria took over them a few hundred years ago. Assyria also moved other conquered ethnic groups into this area, and they intermarried with the Israelites there. Now these Samaritans worship both God and foreign idols brought from their various homeland. And from 2 Kings 17, we know that the Lord sent lions among them and killed some of them because they did not fear God at first. So at the time, the king of Assyria ordered God's priests to teach these people how to worship the God of their land for their own safety. The center of their worship to Israel's God was now set up on Mount Gerizim, and it was claimed that this was the original holy place set up by Joshua when he conquered the land of Canaan. Now the question is, where does God really live? In the Temple of Jerusalem or on Mount Gerizim? Now Jesus was at the height of his popularity, and everyone was going to crown him as the coming Messiah and have him lead him into a new era of kingship. The Samaritans were very aware of Jesus' miracles and the coming kingdom of God. But they were furious that Jesus was going to pass them by and head to Jerusalem for the Passover festival. For the Samaritans, Jerusalem was their rival, and for the Messiah to go there for worship is to reject their place of worship on Mount Gerizim. Why wouldn't they be furious and reject Jesus' group of lodging and food? That's because they took it really personally, and they probably even roughed up Jesus and the disciples as well. James and John did not take their rejection well at all. To them, interacting with these crossbreed religious traitors was already a very humbling experience. But to openly mistreat and to reject the Messiah deserves judgment from God. And remembering from their recent encounter with the prophet Elijah, they asked Jesus, "Lord, do you want us to call down fire from heaven to destroy them?" Whoa, that's a pretty crazy thought, right? Well, that's because that is what Elijah did in 2 Kings chapter 1. When two groups of 50 soldiers came in to take him down, he called down fire from heaven and killed them all. And if even Elijah is submissive to Jesus from the Transfiguration event, we now know why James and John, now known as the Thunder Brothers, had the idea of tapping into God's superpowers to kill these ungrateful and useless Samaritans. Jesus quickly turned and commanded them not to do it. He understood that rejection and without a home is part of his journey. His ultimate home is being with the Father. And so, even though it was getting late, Jesus led his disciples and moved on into another village. On the road towards Jerusalem, it seemed that there's many people who want to join Jesus, the Messiah who would take Jerusalem by storm and create a new Jewish era. The author Luke grouped these people into three general scenarios. The first scenario is a man proclaiming his utter loyalty to Jesus by saying, "I will follow you no matter where you go." By Jesus' reply, we know that these type of people do not know the cost of following Jesus. Jesus replied them by saying, "Foxes have dens, birds have nests, but the Son of Man has no place to lay his head," just like he was rejected in Samaria. The second scenario is where Jesus initiates and says, "Follow me." These type of people reply, "Lord, first let me go and bury my father." Although this seems like a reasonable request, it also reveals one's priority over God's kingdom. Jesus replies, "Let dead people," probably meaning other family members who were spiritually dead, "bury their own dead. You go and tell others about God's kingdom." The third scenario is when a person says, I will follow you, Lord, but first let me go back and say goodbye to my family. Now this seems even more reasonable, right? No need to wait for old age father to pass away before following Jesus. It's just a short goodbye, like what Elisha asked of Elijah before he became a disciple and successor. But Jesus replied, suppose someone starts to plow and then looks back. That person is not fit for service in God's kingdom. Ouch! That seems kind of harsh, right? But it's true. The demand for following Jesus is even greater than following Prophet Elijah or any other leaders in the world. Imagine you're riding your bike ahead and following Jesus, but you turned your head and looked another direction. Would your bike still go forward, or will it steer off track? You see, following Jesus demands our ultimate focus and loyalty. From these examples, we know that 1. Earthly rejection is part of the high cost for following Jesus. 2. God's kingdom should be our ultimate priority. And 3. We must stay focused and not turn to the left or right. When we look at this, we may feel, whoa, following Jesus is so demanding. I'm not quite sure if I want to be this intense in life. But if we were to date or to marry someone, wouldn't you want that person to fully devote themselves to you and you only? And likewise, you do the same for them? Now we have a God from the beginning of time who is willing to become human, who came to this dirty earth to live and die for sinners and losers like us. And with this new given life and relationship with Him, wouldn't you want to give your all to Him as well? Yes, the cost is high. We will be rejected on earth, and we must constantly prioritize God's kingdom with utmost focus, intensity, and loyalty. But what we gain is even higher, the fullness of life. Not luxury or comfort, but a deeper satisfaction. Tell me, what is better than God with us?